Hi, and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. Today we're talking about the new Superman suit. That's right. We did talk about it yesterday when we first got the news, but today we are taking, well, probably a way too deep a dive into talking about the suit because there's so many more details to discuss. We have to talk about, like, well, those boots. I mean, they are some very red big boots. They don't, look like the kind of boots that we have seen in recent iterations. They definitely feel a little more classic. There's of course the crest all, you know, uh with dirt and everything on it, like, but it's the Superman logo that we got a few months ago. It's still the same logo. We got to talk about that. We also have to talk about the cape, how it tucks into the shoulders. We got to talk about the trunks are back. We got to talk about the trunks. There's some very interesting imagery in the background of the picture that we had to get into. And there's so much more. Like, what are the inspirations here? Where is James Gunn going with this? So we'll get into all of that and so much more. And of course, to do that today, as always, we have John. John, how are you doing today?
Oh, yes, now I can finally be free to talk about this for 5 hours straight, uninterrupted, and don't
Hell
have to
yeah.
worry about anybody and anything interrupting me. I'm happy here. Um, I really want to get into this soup because everybody keeps talking about it. Everyone's said I feel like has said their piece on it, so I'm ready to talk about it more and more, most definitely.
Yeah. Dude, this is okay. So the suit, we've been waiting for this picture for months. Like, quite
Yeah.
frankly, at this point, like, I think, like I said yesterday, like almost 2 years, like since James Gunn announced that he's working on the Superman project. It's something that, for people, if you're a fan of, like, the recent iteration of Superman with Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder's take on the character, you were looking for this just to be like, aha, told you, we should have stuck with Henry Cavill. If you are a fan of James Gunn and looking forward to the new DCU, this is like, here we go. Now we have it. Now let's, we are moving forward. And,
Yeah.
well, we have the suit. So let's dive into it. We had some good initial reactions yesterday, and Angelina was here and she gave, her opinion on it. And we were sort of just, yeah, just reacting to it live, like, oh, that's the suit. All right, well, is it over designed? It's like, why is the logo all mugged up? And do we like the trunks? Do we not like the trunks? What is going on in the background? But today I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit more about what are some of the inspirations you think behind the suit. David Corenswet looks like he's in the best shape of his life, so he's certainly filling out the suit. But at the same time, when you look at this picture, at least it doesn't look like it might be the kind of suit where, like, for example, in the Man of Steel suit, they had, like, this padding around, like, the abs and the shoulder. It wasn't a ton, but there was definitely, to outline the key muscle groups and stuff. This feels a little more along the lines of something where I think the best thing I can think of, because I'm a Star Trek fan, it's like the next generation suits from season 3 and 4, where they went from, like, wearing basically skin tight spandex to something that, you could probably pop on in the morning, and that it had form to it, but it wasn't, so tight on you that you could tell exactly where all your stuff is. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
kind of the feel that I got from this. Like, what are your thoughts on the inspiration? Of course, like New 52,
Yeah.
like all the other things all the other comics that James Gunn has been inspired by that we have talked about in the past. Do you feel like those inspirations are evident in this suit?
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot. Like as I said before, I liked it. I don't think it's a perfect suit. Like I like I don't mind the Kingdom Come inspiration for the logo. I think that's definitely an interesting idea and a different like take on it. I don't think it needs to just be married to the Kingdom Come storyline because I've seen some people being like, "Oh, it only belongs for Kingdom Come," where it's like, no, it's just a new crest. Like that was essentially what it was, and it just had the black to showcase like how like dark like the story was and what like Superman was kind of going through at that point. So I get that, but I know there were really early reports, really early on that like they wanted Kingdom Come to be like the end game, not like not like the DC version of the end game, but like end game in the actual like definition of the sense.
Of
The
the,
the
yeah,
ending of the DCU, they wanted it to be more of like
right.
Kingdom Come, which I could see. I think that could be an interesting take on it, but again, probably just rumor mill, probably just bullshit. But
Hmm.
so I don't mind that. There's definitely some new 52 here. Like there's the collar. I don't mind how totally. I don't like the collar, but it could be worse. Like I feel like New 52 is like the worst. I hate that suit. I hate that suit. It's just way too over designed. That's what I kind of don't like here. Is you see all the lines and like the over designed like nature of it. Like they're trying too hard to like make it look like a uniform or a suit, where it's just like sometimes just a guy in like blue spandex just works, especially with someone like Superman. So obviously the Kingdom Come inspiration is there. Obviously the New 52 with mainly the, the over designing it and the collar. There is some injustice in there with the cape. You can kind of, it's not like attached to the logo like it is in Injustice, but like I definitely feel that vibe. I don't totally love the cape where it is. As I said before, I like it. I like it tucked into the collar. I think in the shoulders, it just looks weird. It doesn't look right. But as even then, like overall, the suit is very good. Like I like the blue. I really like the blue. It's not like total royal blue, but it's very close to that. And I like the trunks. I love seeing the trunks. And it looks like we have like a gold utility belt, which is definitely very cool. And I like the boots.
Yeah.
I think the boots look, they look probably the most simple thing on this suit. I just wish we got like a better like look of it, like a better view, because it's so like dirty and grungy. It looks like, he's like in the middle of a battle, which is fine. Like I kind of like that vibe. It kind of reminds me of almost like the best thing I could like come up with is like a Norman Rockwell, where it's so like normal looking, but at the same time it's like we see like the battle damage. We see like obviously his hair is undid. You could see the cowlick, which I've seen people complain about. I've seen people like it. It does look a little weird on the side of his head,
I
but
mean,
I think that's just like he's been fighting. He's kind of grungy. His hair is all fucked up. I think that's just like it's just a wink and a nod. Maybe it looks silly. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's in the actual movie. Maybe it's not. So who knows? But I do. I'm really liking this suit. I wish the suit was brighter. Don't get me wrong. I do wish it was brighter, but I do like. I still overall. I think it's. I like the bottom half more than the top half. I think. Like I like the trunks. I like the legs don't look too overly designed. I like the boots and the cape. That I guess that kind of counts as the top half, but the cape is fine
yeah.
in and of itself. I like the color. But I may lean more like the bottom half than the top half. The bottom half looks really good. The top half looks kind of iffy to me.
You
Um,
know what's
but
ironic is the bottom half looks like it's been through a lot less damage and wear and tear than the top half.
yeah,
Like if you look at the amount of dirt and stuff. I mean, granted, probably in terms of when they're filming a lot, they're probably gonna shoot a lot more shots that are medium shots that you get from the waist up, stuff like that,
right.
or like close-ups where so they don't have to grime up the bottom half of it as much, or maybe like he's just changing into a new pair of boots or something. Where whatever the context of the movie is, clearly there's stuff happening behind him. Um, but yeah, I mean the whole the turtleneck kind of a look uh of the collar. It's sort of this reminds me of the Batman, not the Bat, what was it? What's the Pete Holmes
Yeah.
Batman
Oh,
Batcan
just in case if your neck gets a little chilly, you have that turtleneck.
turtleneck. Yeah. That's what that reminded me of, like talking to the Robert Pattinson Batman. It's just kind of
Are
got that
you
vibe going.
are you journaling
Uh,
me right now? Are
are
you
you
journaling
journaling
me right
at me?
now?
No, journaling at me
At
right
me
now.
right now?
What was my favorite part of that whole sequence? Sorry, now I'm going on a tangent. Is the one where he throws the Nirvana thing back at me,
Yeah.
back at him. Like what is it like? Something because you're dead to me. I'm like that's
Yeah,
the best
something like
part.
that. Like, oh yeah, you're just like Kurt Cobain. You're dead to me.
Dead
Something
to
like that.
me.
Like,
I was just cracked.
like something like that. Like, I just like I like that one and the Joker one were definitely
Yeah,
the best ones. It was like I prefer
I like
Jared
Jared
Leto.
Leto. Yeah.
Like,
I was just
it's
I
like,
shouldn't.
oh, that's insulting. That's really
Oh
fucking
no.
insulting.
It's like
Yeah,
he really canceled those characters in those. It's just like that was it. It's done. That's a wrap on those two. Okay, but well, this is the other thing I wanted to get into about this suit is the details. Like we talked about
yeah,
earlier, you mentioned that the new 52 suit, right? Like there's a lot of elements. Well, the new 52 suit also kind of got rid of the trunks in a way, but I mean, this is also sort of a
yeah,
mechanized version of the suit we're looking at a little bit.
yeah.
But you ultimately had a lot of these like elements that were sort of like over designed in many ways, and you're sort of seeing that here as well. My question becomes like, do you think that's a hint at like where does Superman belong in terms of the hierarchy of this universe in terms of what and I'm not making a Black Adam or
I
reference to
was
the
thinking
Rock,
that exact
but
thing. Like, the
what
hierarchy
I
of
mean is
Kryptonian armor is about to change.
yeah. But I do because the thing about the Man of Steel suit was, and I bring that up solely because it's the most recent iteration. And it, like obviously what they've done in Superman and Lois, they've done on a TV budget. And so like I don't really
Yeah,
count that at the same level here. But like the most recent iteration was the Man of Steel. And in Man of Steel, there's like a certain sense of regalness to how those suits were designed in terms of like, and also what motivated the design, like the S insignia, as well as of
right,
course showing kind of on Krypton all the different houses and what that was. There was a lot of like cool design language around it. You could tell that a production artist or some kind of art, there was a lot of good art direction that went into designing what Krypton was as a people, as a culture, as a world, and
right.
how that played into what Superman's look is, especially with his suit. So here you're getting something that feels less regal and a little more like military suit in terms of how this looks like. Like for me, when I looked at this the first time, I'm like, if I squint hard enough, it almost looks like some of the Guardians of the Galaxy suits, especially from the second and third movie that James Gunn directed. I mean, and it seems like he's probably working with the same art department or a lot of the same kind of members that he brought
Hmm.
over for this movie. So, and it's even when you compare to some of the design philosophies of the Suicide Squad suits, the second one that he directed. Um, do you feel that here? Like, do you, and then again, do you think that informs us of where this suit comes from? Is this because we've talked about like he
That's
makes
what
his
I've been
own
thinking
suit?
about.
Like
That's what I've been thinking
who
about.
makes this suit? Is this the suit that he found on the
Yeah,
ship that crash landed on Earth, or
it's.
it's
I really don't know. Because it doesn't have that like Kryptonian armor look that New 52
yeah,
had,
yeah,
because that was like specifically like it was supposed to be designed by like that was like a Krypton suit. Like that was from Krypton. Here it kind of has that vibe, but like then at the same time the logo looks homemade, and then
it it looks very military form and function in the sense that it's
yeah,
there
like
to be
I don't
there,
know because
but like a patch on a shoulder except on the chest, but it's not meant to be.
yeah,
It's
it
not meant
looks
to
so
kind of
weird
be
because it's like at at, at 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 the same time it looks very militaristic, but at the same time it almost looks kind of homemade, mainly because how it like
Mm,
kind of doesn't really fit him that well. I know a lot of people complained about that, how it's not fitting him very well, like mainly in the shoulders, that it looks like kind of off. I know a lot of people complained about that. A lot of people said, "Oh, this looks like it's from Party City. Oh, it doesn't look that good." I know a lot of people have been complaining about this suit. A lot of people like it, a lot of people hate it. And I'm not just talking about like Snyder fans that are just upset that they'll never get their way. I'm just talking about people that are like, I'm excited for this movie, but like I'm not feeling this suit. Like I think it looks awkward. I know there's a lot of people that have been saying like, oh, it looks like this is a costume test, but James Gunn did say on Threads that this was on set. So they're unless they now if this was taken in like early March, I'd say yeah, that makes it, or like late February, I'd say yeah, that makes sense. It's a costume. But they've been filming since February 29th. So it's unlikely that they would, unless James Gunn is really really trying to keep the real suit under wraps, that there that he, took the old like the old costume test suit, put it on Corenswet, took a picture with it, and then they filmed the real suit. That just doesn't make sense to me. I feel mainly because how battle like it looks worn in the photo, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Like I think I think this is just the real suit, and I think people need to calm down a little bit. Because if you don't like it, that's fine. That's totally cool. It's just like don't make excuses for that. Oh, it's a costume test. Well, it's like they've been filming for a while. They've been filming for about
This
2 months.
yeah, this doesn't look
So
like a costume test kind of a thing at all. It
no,
looks like because when you see the wear and tear on it, it looks like this is from a
yeah,
scene somewhere in the movie where he's already been, fighting something,
even
someone, whatever.
even a
Um,
buddy of mine made a point of this. Like they put the costume test for Christopher Reeve up, and it looked like complete shit. Like he hadn't booked up. He was like
right.
sweating. He was nervous. The suit looked terrible. It looked like the S looked like not an S at all, but it looked like so like awkward. Like it like somebody like stitched it by hand, and it just was like it looked like so
Mhm.
weird. So it's like it's clear like that's what a costume test is. And he's like, this is what a costume test looks like. This doesn't look like a costume test to me. I think people are just like, I hope this isn't the actual suit and this is a costume test, which I don't think that's the case. Obviously, this is not going to, this is, in my opinion, this isn't the best suit we've ever gotten. I
Right.
personally, that still goes to the Brandon Routh Crisis suit. Like, that is easily the best suit. In terms of others, I mean, Reeve remains classic. That's kind of just one you just can't touch. Um, I like the Dean Kane suit. Again, it has like the post-crisis vibe of like, hey, my mom made it for me. Like I kind of like that. Like that's the reasoning behind it, and I like that. Um, the initial Brandon Routh suit, it's almost good. I think the main problem I have with the Brandon Routh 2006 suit is the logo is way too small, and I hate maroon. Like it's so funny to see like, oh, the suit looks so bright yet you have maroon. Like they're trying to like have like an it was like mid 2000s Superman. Oh, we got to make it like kind of edgy. So instead of making his suit red, it's almost shit brown. So it's like that doesn't make sense to me. I get the vibe of the Man of Steel suit. I personally don't care for it because I feel like it's a bit too Kryptonian. Um,
I mean, I
even
like that
then,
about it, that it
but
feels
but at least it has like a clear cut. Like, okay, this is definitely like the vibe. Like, okay, it's like this Superman is heavily steeped into the lore of Krypton, so it's like that's what we're going for. It's like, okay, I get it. I personally don't care for it, but I get it. And then the like if you are about to make a Superman suit in live action, I feel like the Brandon Routh suit from Crisis on Infinite Earths that needs to be the go-to suit. That they should just take that suit and just be like, okay, how do we keep every amazing thing part of this suit, but do our own thing with it? Because like the colors are perfect, the logo's perfect, the cape, the boots, the how it's tucked in, the look is absolute is as it's as perfect as you can get in terms of a Superman suit. Like the colors are great, everything about it is fan fucking tastic. So it's just weird how we get that suit, and then the two suits we got after that were just kind of eh. The first Tyler Hoechlin suit is arguably the
yeah.
worst Superman suit we've ever gotten in live action. That one's horrible. Talk about a
That
suit that
yeah.
doesn't fit well. Like
Right.
he would be if he wasn't like this, like
Yeah.
his chest wasn't straight, the
Yeah.
fucking suit would bend in the front. It's
Uh-huh.
like I know
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
a TV
Mhm.
budget, but how the fuck does the season 3 Superman and Lois suit and the Crisis suit look so much fucking better? Because I will say the early Superman and Lois suit that had some Party City vibes. Not gonna lie, especially with the fake muscles, looked a little bit off. But the suit from this past season was very good. I will admit
It
that that
was.
was a very good
They've
suit.
definitely improved it. They have
Yeah,
improved it.
the
What I
the
wanted to kinda
logo's bigger. I like that too.
oh, definitely, and I think that's a big part of it. What I wanted to also kinda touch upon is
Yeah,
we've kind of gone over the authority Superman suit before,
right.
and I feel like some of this is really, showing through now. I mean, the crest is different, but I mean, and you don't have, it's not. it's full sleeves and not no gloves. But you could tell that in terms of just kind of that more militaristic feel. Like
Yeah,
I said earlier, this suit feels a little more like that. Like it's
yeah,
sort of, mm, and I bring up the Guardians of the Galaxy in the sense that this okay, I'll put it quite simply this way. This Superman suit feels like the kind of Superman suit you would get if this was a Marvel Studios Superman movie. It just feels that way because I feel like the one thing DC in the past has always done is there's this certain quintessential quality and classic nature to how all the previous Superman suits have looked. And whether you want to use the word regal or classic or like a simplicity to them, because Superman's
right,
suit is iconic for the fact that you can easily point out, all right, there's the red cape, there's the trunks, there's the crest, and it's everything is blue. You've got the red boots, and you have a lot of that here. But at the same time, some of the ways in which they've over designed, and when not over, maybe over design is not the right word because maybe that's not what they were going for, but it's sort of like form fits function sort of a approach where like when you take the Captain America suit from the first Avengers, which felt very comic book classic, to the suit that he has in like the later Avengers movies, which felt more like he's part of a pseudo military like team,
right,
or like he's part of Shield. This is what it feels like. That this is a Superman suit where
right.
he's part of a military organization rather than being like this is like a regal family suit that he's meant to wear in a formal occasion, kind of like what the Henry Cavill Superman suit was meant to look like. So I think that maybe that informs us regarding what the story of the movie is potentially. It also intrigues me as to like where the heck is he sitting? Like, we have
Yeah,
talked about it yesterday on the show, like what's behind him? What is
yeah,
this a city on Earth? Like, and if it is, like, do we recognize the skyline? I mean, the only uh city I can think of is there's like this twin tower um skyscraper, the Petronas Towers. And I think they're in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And if you see like there's like the towers there with the lit up bridge in the middle, that's the only skyline I can think of that would match. And it's only because of those two skyscrapers with the bridge in the middle in Kuala Lumpur, the Petronas Towers. Outside of that, I can't think of any other skyline on Earth where that's what that looks like. So
yeah.
it
I'm
could just
getting
be
the
this is Metropolis, you know?
I'm just getting the vibe of like like an out of reality sort of like city, which not
Hmm.
exactly how what I was hoping for, but I know like obviously not everything I want to see is going to be on screen. That's just the nature of the beast. But it just looks like kind of a generic city, like New York, Chicago, San Francisco kind of combined into one a little bit. I do hope that it's just not New York. Like I know the Nolan movies for Batman, those are supposed to be realistic, and that's fine. But like it's just like I don't want it to just look like Chicago, like
Yeah.
you know, or Denver or like New York. Like obviously it needs to have its own identity. And obviously I am never going to expect Tim Burton's Gotham City ever again. Like that's never gonna happen. Like that was like
Yeah.
I would love to see it, but it's never gonna happen. So I would have loved to have seen like sort of like kind of like what Batman the Animated Series was. One of the best things about that show is like you can never tell where that took place. Like the cars are from the 40s. Some of the technology was from modern day. Some of the like lingo was like 80s, and then some of the technology was beyond time. So it was like it kind of had like a mix of like everything. That's what I kind of like. I want because the thing I love about DC, why I kind of prefer it to Marvel, is Marvel is just, oh, it's in New York, which is fine.
It's
Like
a lot of
it's
New
supposed to
York.
be
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be human. It's supposed to be very grounded and like like superheroes in the real world type of thing. Well,
Hmm.
DC, I love how it's out of time, out of like out of reality. And that's
Hmm.
what I kind of hoped with this one. Like I remember like watching a video on it and I wholeheartedly agree. And I think I might have mentioned this before. Like it would have been so awesome to see like Metropolis be like this like 1920s like Art Deco vibe, while also having
Yeah,
like
yeah.
stuff from like modern day, but maybe some stuff from like a 1950s vibe as well.
Mhm.
Like combining those, like the skyscrapers would be like this, like the Daily Planet, like the big ball on top. The globe would be like this Art Deco vibe, like the big skyscrapers would be Art Deco, and then the people on the ground would be like very kind of like a classic fitting look, like kind of something out of like Mad Men. Like everyone would be like in suits and everyone would look nice, and maybe they would maybe not drive like modern cars, but like a little bit in the past, maybe like a late 90s cars, and then just like have it like be like a living breathing city that's clearly not of reality, and then really use that to your advantage. Like Metropolis has to be a character in and of itself, and I think that would be very fun. Like say what you will about Superman Returns, not a good movie, but I do think it did do a lot right from a production design sort of like vibe. Like I
Yeah,
really liked the look and feel of that movie. It just I wish it had its own identity in terms of a story and its characters
yeah.
rather than being just a pseudo sequel to Superman 2 and just
Mhm.
like not having any sort of like when does this take place? Is it a sequel to Superman 2? Well, clearly not because they have laptops and modern technology.
Yeah.
Um and so like where does so it's like it's confusing and it's definitely weird, and I feel like they were like too young. They look too young and all of that. So it's it has its problems, but I feel like it does do a bit right. And I think
Right.
that's what like I feel like will be missing. Because I feel like it's just easier to like, okay, film in Vancouver, make it look like New York, boom, there you go. It's easy. Like I get that. And I wouldn't be shocked if like that's or like have it or in this case
Well,
Atlanta, make it look like New York City.
yeah.
Boom, there you go. It's
I mean, they're
easier.
shooting
But like
all over the world, like, but yes, I see what you mean. Like a lot of the sound stages are in Atlanta. Now, I did want to, touch upon well, I mean, it looks like, by the way, like to your point, that the city is much more modern, present day. If you go by what's in the background there,
yeah.
and I was, as I brought up earlier, like the skyline of Kuala Lumpur, sort of, but because like the two towers have like a bridge in the middle. That's the only thing I can think of. But I mean, it could be, like you said,
Right.
completely original. So I also did want to dive a little bit into, what is in that background. There's a big fireball in the background, and I do wonder what that is in reference to.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that's Godzilla, like
I think so.
fighting somebody?
I think
Like,
so. I think
eh,
that's just I think that's clear cut. I think that's what it is. Like it's just too I mean, look how perfect that is.
yeah,
I think that's what it
it
is.
fits. I mean, especially with the latest movie, we know Godzilla's gone purple. Like that's where that's what we're doing now. Um, by the way, Hunter Iggy had a question about this. And he was asking us, like, do you think in the background is the Sun Eater? Um, and do you think he's losing his power because he cannot get the sun showing up, and that's why he's moving? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, a little bit of that question doesn't make sense to me, but also, like, do you know what he's hinting at there, Hunter Iggy?
The
Like, what
Sun
is?
Eater was from a Legion of Superheroes arc in the
Yeah.
comics. That was the famous arc that killed Pharaoh Lad.
Mm,
And resulted in the Fatal Five getting released and the Legion of Superheroes fighting the Fatal Five. But that was sort of like that big sort of like thing in the comics at the time, where it was like, okay, this character that is died. Like we never really like saw that, especially like it was like I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like tail end of the Silver Age. So it was um so it was like kind of like awkward, like I don't want to say awkward, but it was like kind of like it was just like this really like foreboding kind of moment. And Um, so that was sort of like that. So maybe he's referencing that and like kind of bringing in the Legion vibe a bit, which I wouldn't mind because Legion of Superheroes is kind of like that very cool, like Silver Age esque kind of vibe, and I would love to bring that into comics because a lot of Silver Age stuff was like quintessential in terms of you know,
Yeah, I mean, we had the last
like
time we
I
saw
know
Sun
I know
Eater.
people make fun of it, so like I think it would be like a cool kind of
Yeah.
vibe. I guess it would be
I,
nice to have that.
I was gonna say the last time we got Sun Eater or Sun Eaters, it was in the Arrowverse. Like that's the picture that I've got on screen right now. So I mean, maybe what he's referencing there is Hunter He's talking about the fact that Superman is maybe feeling a bit down because he can't quite, get his power levels up because the sun's practically being eaten. I would be surprised though if that was the sun there in the background because that would mean that the sun is like in practically in Earth's atmosphere. So I don't know what that like. I can't imagine that's what's going on there. It is very intriguing though because like you mentioned yesterday, could it be Lex Luthor's um super suit? Like, or
Yeah.
could that
So
be
I've
leading up
seen
to it?
Brainiac because Brainiac has, green and purple.
Yeah.
Um, so and a lot of people are just kind of hoping and praying that Brainiac is really the main villain and like James Gunn lied.
Yeah.
Which I think we all kind of hope for because, you know, Lex Luthor as the villain again, a little tiring. So, but the thing is,
Yeah.
from the way it looks, it's like weird. Like it's clearly not in the sky. Like it's clearly not, you know, blocking out the sun. It looks like it's in Metropolis. Like you could see it
Right.
out your window and it looks very close.
Mm-hmm.
So I think and what is the beam doing? Is it attacking the globe? Is it the globe emitting something? That's like the main thing I'm like kind of like curious
I
about.
mean,
Like it kind of looks like it's emitting it. Like it looks like it's destroying something. So that's another interesting little tidbit.
yeah, I
So
mean,
I don't know.
for me, like what I'm thinking of, like, okay, I'm putting the pieces together here, right? When you look at this picture in its entirety, let me go to James Gunn's post here. It looks like this is some kind of high-rise building that he's sitting in.
Hmm.
He's obviously sitting in some, like, well, he's got the chair there. This is maybe it doesn't look like a residential environment. Maybe it is. Who knows? But like the background, it feels to me like this is in the middle of a final battle or some kind of battle in the movie, and we know that
Hmm.
there's a lot of other superheroes in this movie. What we
Yeah.
have Guy Gardner's Green Lantern. We have possibly the Terrifics, of course, Mister Terrific. We have in there. We have is it the Hawk Girl we have in there as well,
Hmm.
and of course we have the
Metamorpho.
Engineer
Yeah. Yeah.
Metamorpho is in there. So could it be that and that they're fighting off this enemy? Meanwhile, Superman's sort of regrouping or maybe entering the battle again. Maybe this plays into the idea of like Superman's really sort of bows out, and then for somehow he's like, okay, well, I need to join this fight. Like like
Right.
whatever for whatever the reason is, I need to kind of join this fight because this is my fight. And so he re-enters, and then in that process he's of course putting on his boots, and that's kind of where what this comes from. But this could be, I mean, it sort of reminds me a little bit of, I mean, in BVS they had that whole theme of Superman sort of like my world died, this is not my world, like he feels like an alien. And then by the end of the movie he's like, this is my world, like like Earth as in his world. He makes that choice. He not only just makes that choice, but he's sort of more committed to that idea.
Hmm.
And so maybe there's some sort of morality, more moral sort of turn that's happening here. Sometimes some in terms of what Superman believes himself to be and where he sees himself fitting into the lot bigger picture. Because you've talked about it before. Maybe like ultimately the villain in this movie isn't necessarily like, I mean, yes, Lex Luthor is an antagonist, but there isn't necessarily a big bad per se. It's more about Superman just figuring out what
Figuring
his
out who he
place
is.
is
Yeah.
in this. Yeah, exactly, who he
Because
is.
it maybe maybe like I'm offering an olive branch to the people that can't accept that this is the suit. Maybe this is a suit later on in the film. Like,
Yeah.
because the whole basis, that summary that we got very early on in that announcement, was a guy trying to balance, like trying to get in touch with his Kryptonian heritage. And maybe early on in the film, he wears a suit like made by his mom, and then like, hey, thanks, my mom made it for me, like kind of suit. We get that spandex suit that we all see, and then once he gets in touch with his Kryptonian heritage, he finally decides, okay, let me make a suit that reflects like the alien I am, even though I am a person of Earth, because I want to
Yeah.
be a beacon of both worlds type of thing. So
Yeah.
maybe this was like a suit he made later on, and he is, so he takes like the suit his mom made for him and then restructures that into like maybe what was it, Kelix, the little robot guy he has, to make his suit, and it's like make it Kryptonian vibe, and that's what we see here. And he comes out in the suit. There's a little bit of a, oh shit, I can't fight him off. He gets kerfuffled, and he's like all damaged and shit. And he goes, maybe his boot flies off, and then he's like, oh shit, and he grabs his boot, and then he flies into this building. He puts it back on. He's like, okay, I can do this, and then he leaves. That's the context. But maybe like this is like the third act, and this is like the suit we see like Superman maybe is blamed for something, and he makes his triumphant return, and
Yeah.
he's in this new suit to showcase who he really is now. He is a being of two worlds, and then he fights whoever he needs to fight. I think that could be a good, interesting way of doing it. So you can have
Yeah.
your cake and eat it too, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
that's just a
Yeah.
theory, probably not the case, but you know.
Well, I mean, if it's not that, then Hunter Lee suggested that in the 12th volume of All Star Superman, we do get like the Sun Eaters and Lex Luthor sort of like there's a story there that could potentially line
Yeah.
up with the image
Again,
of
I
the world
haven't
as
read it
well.
yet. I know, I know, I
So,
know. I still need to read it. But
well,
yeah,
get on
so
it. Yeah.
but yeah, the Sun Eater, the only thing I was, even though I watched the movie, like although that was years ago, so I don't know, I don't remember a ton about the movie, but I just remember the Sun Eater from the Legion of Superheroes. So that was, I mean,
Yeah.
which isn't wrong, but like I forgot about
Right.
the All-Star Superman connection, which is an inspiration for this movie, that
Mhm.
and Superman for All Seasons. So that's entirely, plausible that it could be like the Sun Eater, but it doesn't look like the Sun Eater, other than the fact it's a sphere. Because it's like purple and green, doesn't really look like
Yeah.
it. So you know,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I'm overall just like excited to see where this is going in the sense that now
hmm
that we have the suit, we're getting a hint at, what's kind of world the Superman inhabits. Um, and it's interesting that they did give us a suit that doesn't feel like, something that
we saw
it's
before,
fresh out the washing machine. Yeah, exactly. It's all. I mean, ultimately, if I were to ask you, you said this is not the best Superman suit we have gotten. Um,
right?
where would you kind of place this? Like, I mean, you said that your favorite is the Brendan Routh Kingdom Come suit. I think
Yeah,
that's a fantastic suit. I personally love I do love the Henry Cavill Man of Steel suit. I
I
think like that
like
to me
the
is
BVS suit a little bit more
yeah,
because I like the gold. I think the gold looks really
yeah,
cool.
right,
Um, it I don't mind that suit. Again, I kind of respect like what it's going for. I don't love it. I like the Dean Kane suit. I like the Reeve suit. Um, I like the later seasons of the Superman and Lois suit, but I'd rank this maybe like somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit higher
yeah,
up. It's not as good as the Routh suit, the Crisis Routh suit. I would say I like the Dean Kane suit more.
okay,
I just love that look because I love the blue of that suit. I love the scarlet red of
hmm,
that suit. It looks cheap, but like that's the intention, and I kind of like that.
yeah,
Um, I would say like the season 3 Superman and Lois suit I really like. Um, but yeah, maybe it's like fourth or fifth. I would have to like think of all of them, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's better than the George Reeves suit. It's better than the Kirk Allen suit. Um, it's better than the fucking Supergirl Superman suit. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
like those
definitely
are
better than
kind
that
of
one.
the
Um,
Kirk Allen suit
yeah.
from the Superman serials from the 40s. Better than that because it looked like he was wearing an adult diaper in that suit. And then, but yeah, it's not the worst. It's I would say it's somewhere in the middle, not the best suit, but not the worst suit.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's where a lot of people probably looked at this and said like, well, they're expecting something really grand, and it feels more grounded than grand, you know.
yeah,
For me, I think Fiona mentioned it in the comments earlier. She's like, the suit doesn't make the man makes the suit. Like,
yeah.
I think like that's ultimately what it
At
comes
the end
down
of the
to.
day, I just
You
care
know,
about the man in the
it's
suit. So,
yeah. Yeah, and then speaking of the man in the suit, let's take a look at the man in the suit. Let me. Did I have it pulled up here? There we go. That's the man in the suit. Speaking of, the man doesn't fit the suit, or it's not. It feels too big on him. I'm like, really? You think so? I
I
think
just think
he's
it's like
doing just
very like
fine.
weirdly designed because I know
It's
some people are
designed,
like, "Oh, it
yeah.
has shoulder pads." I'm like, "Where?" Like,
Where right?
are
It's
you looking at the suit? Like, oh, it has shoulder
the
pads. It's just no, it
yeah.
doesn't. I don't know
I mean, if
what's
you
that
squint
about.
just hard enough, you can almost kind of like, is that Henry Cavill? Like, it's sort of, I don't know, like. Well, there's obviously similarities in terms of how they look. David Corenswet and Henry
Although
Cavill,
according to
which
my mom,
people
that's
have
not true. He's like, yeah, no, Henry Cavill's better.
no.
He's way
Henry
better,
Cavill's
way more
better.
attractive.
He,
I
it's
don't want to hear that.
it's kind of
Like,
it's one of those things where it's hard to argue against that. I mean, I personally, I'm like, if I was the casting director and I was making this choice, I would have picked Henry Cavill. But I guess I think then going in a new direction, a different direction, they had to, I mean, they made a decision. Obviously, I think a lot of it doesn't have to do with just the looks of the actor. It's also like, they're gonna want to have him around in the role for probably decade, 2 decades, who knows. He's part of a new universe. So the age is a factor. There's also the fact that, they want to start with somebody who's not just, looking different, but it's also probably how he fits into the story. What kind of Superman is this? And then, of course, creating that separation from the DCEU of the past. So to that end, I mean, yeah, look, I mean, he's looks like he's in the best shape of his life. When you look at
right,
the suit so far, it looks like, this could be just one of several suits that we get throughout the movie. Even if it isn't, even if it is that this is the suit for this movie, we have seen in the past, even with the Henry Cavill suit, that they made modifications and changes were done so that the suits weren't quite the same from movie to movie. We have seen
right.
in like Marvel, like the MCU, every time you would see Black Widow, every time you would see Captain America, they were wearing something different. Like,
Yeah.
they were just kept
There was
iterating
like
on the
12
suit.
trillion Iron Man
Well,
suits. Yeah.
yeah,
So
like you gotta
like,
sell the merchandise. Like
yeah,
it's
exactly. Like the merch. Oh, this
so
is the Superman not legacy suit. This is the
right.
Superman 2 suit. This is
Dude,
the
right.
Superman 3 suit. So, you gotta
Yep. Yeah.
I just want to see Lois Lane in purple. Lois Lane just rocks purple, and I just want to see that. Like that's all I care about. I want to
Yeah.
whether it's the like skirt blazer
Hmm.
thing she had in the animated series, whether it was that sweater cardigan in that famous shot
Yeah.
on the comic book cover where Lois Lane returns. So yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to see Lois Lane in purple. I think that'll rock.
Yeah. By the way, do you think this S is kind of like previous past iterations of Superman? This S is a family crest, or no?
I think that's what they're kind of aiming for nowadays. Sorry. Um,
Like that aspect of it remains true.
yeah,
Like this is gonna
I
tie into
just
the
think feel
current
like it just
canon.
like makes the most sense. Like, I mean, I don't care if it's S for Superman. I really don't. Like, I don't care. Like, they call me Superman. Well, I guess I'll wear an S. Like, like I kind of like
Right.
that. Like,
What
it's
does the S
cute. It's
stand
funny.
for? It's not an S. It's yeah.
Hope starts with an H. Stupid. Uh, so so
Yeah. It-
uh,
Wow, we went back to Pete Holmes. That was a good one. I like it. Yeah.
I mean, Pete Holmes is like the best Batman we've ever
He's
gotten. So like,
it's
you know,
definitely up there. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think this is an okay suit. I think it's good.
yeah.
Like it's not perfect, but I think I care more about what Corenswet's portrayal is. I care
Mhm.
more about how the chemistry he has with Lois Lane. I care more about his chemistry with Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I care more about what Jimmy Olsen brings to the table. What Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. Like I'm curious, what them as actors bring to the table. The suit only does so much. It's like okay, it's not perfect, but
Right.
you know what? The suit,
Mm.
the man makes the suit, not the suit makes the man, right? So
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and hey, look, we've
that's
we've gotten his like Earth parents like cast already. I'm excited to
yeah.
see. I think we're definitely gonna get his Kryptonian parents. So like, I want to see Superman's family rounded out soon.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Yeah. So with that, I think we're gonna call this a show. Um, Yeah, the Superman suit. I think we went into it about as deep as we could, considering what's in the picture. If you guys have any more ideas, suggestions, like what is going on in the background of that image, what's going on with the suit, whether like you've learned something new about the crest, like looking at the suit that surrounds it, whether you like the way the cape tucks into the shoulders, whether you are into the boots and the color of the boots, and how they're going to be clearly a prominent part of the suit. Do you
Hmm.
like all the the other patterns and elements in the design? What is that purple green fireball in the background? Like, do you think this is indeed Metropolis or some other city? Are they on like the bottle city of Kandor? Like, where are they? Tell us all about it. I mean, it's here at Corn, so it looks the part, I would say, more or less, right? Like he's certainly filling out the suit better than most people would, and it definitely feels like this is the suit that will go through iterations over the course of the DCU. So let us
Right.
know in the comments what you think about that. Of course, thanks for joining us live, Hunter, Iggy, Fiona, like everybody else who like you guys are watching, sending in your questions and comments. That's amazing. We love to feature those. If you missed what we've been talking about this whole time, then you can, you're welcome to go back and just rewind back, and then we dove into the inspirations, possibly All-Star Superman, New 52, what is, behind this suit. We talked about, where this kind of fits into the story of the movie. Like, is this a scene from the third act of the film, or is this from earlier in the movie? Is this only one of several suits? Is this a suit that kind of comes into one of the Kryptonian ships? Is it the one that he crash lands with? Is it a suit that he makes? Is it a suit somebody else makes for him? Of course, like it looks like there's some padding, specific sort of padding around the arm, sort of like Batman's suit, where to protect his arm. Like it looks like there's some armor built into the suit. There's like a knee pad almost there, built into the suit. So there's a lot more that we will dive into, hopefully in the the days, weeks, and months to come, especially as we get now more imagery, hopefully from the movie. James Gunn has been very tight-lipped about this, but he did say that this entire picture, it was shot by one of the production photographers, and it's all in camera. So they're clearly shooting this against some sort of like a volume-like setup, like the Star Wars shows. So yeah, we're well on our way with the production of this movie. It's been over a month that they've been in production. So hopefully we will now start getting more of those production images and more behind the scenes looks. I'm excited to see a look at maybe like Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, with Nathan Fillion in the suit. I want to see, Hawk Girl. I want to see Mr. Terrific. I want to start to see some more of those, images.
I
But
want to
until,
see Guy Gardner
yeah,
with the bowl cut. That's all I
but
care
yeah.
about. I just
Well,
want to
isn't
see.
that's one of the James Gunn said it very early on. He's like one of probably the biggest reason why he cast Nathan Fillion is because he wants to see Nathan Fillion in that bowl cut.
Yeah,
So
like,
that was definitely one of the core motivations, if you will.
oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to come with this movie. It's still more than a year away. It's coming out in July of 2025. So we have a ways to go. So we'll be talking about this, I'm sure, for literally over a year,
Oh
until
yeah.
it comes out,
Gonna be
and
very
probably for
exciting.
years after, regardless of whether it's a absolute box office success or if it's a complete flop. So keep coming back here, DCU Daily, as it implies in the name. We're here Monday through Friday, day to day, every day, and we're talking about all things DC, DCU, even the DCE. You're looking back at, there were recently some comments from Chris Pine about his shock and awe at the idea that Wonder Woman 3 was not picked up for production, and what he thinks about the franchise. We will be discussing that. We will be getting into who's gonna be part of James Gunn's Justice League lineup. Obviously, Superman's gonna be in there. Of course, we're probably gonna get a Batman as well. But who else is gonna be part of that picture? And there's always breaking news happening. Anytime James Gunn is out there dropping some new image, some new insight, we're going in there and we're diving way too deep to find out all the different inspirations and speculate and go into conspiracy theory mode, if you will. But yeah, we'll be back here again tomorrow. We'll be talking about well, we'll see what we'll be talking about. We haven't quite picked out a topic yet. Maybe there'll be breaking news. Maybe you have some ideas, and if you do, let us know in the comments. And until tomorrow, John, as always, it's been a pleasure on have you on here on DC Daily. So we'll see you here next time. And guys, go out there, watch something DC related, come back and talk to us about it, and we'll see you tomorrow on the show.